And so I just wanted people to know that, like, you're not the only person that's gone through hard times. Everybody's life is messed up. Like, nobody's life is perfect. And also, like, during the time that it was all happening, and when I did start sharing and it became, public knowledge what was going on in my life,
Mhm.
I had so many people that I didn't really know that well, but they knew, like, this woman has got to be shock proof, and it's impossible for her to be judgmental because look at her life. And
Mm.
it brought me people in my life that I would have otherwise never known. And they were going through the same thing or very similar things to what I had gone through. And they needed somebody to talk to, but they held that shame so close
Right.
like I did.
Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terry Cole Show, where I just had the pleasure of interviewing someone who's actually interviewed me twice on her show, Angie Sullivan, who is one of the co hosts of the I've Had It podcast with Jennifer Welsh. It is a show that makes me laugh and resonates with people. And it's really blown up. It's gotten so big. Anyway, these ladies have written a book, and it's called Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. There's the cover if you haven't seen it. It's the book itself is actually, I loved it. Super funny. I'll tell you a little bit about Angie. She's a graduate of University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma College of Law. So she had a law practice before she got into reality TV. She and Jennifer had a show called, what was it called? Sweet Home, I think it was called. It was on Bravo for 2 seasons. Let me see if that's what it was. Yeah, Sweet Home for 2 seasons. And I think the pod was sort of born out of this. But what this book is about is super personal stories and how they overcame them. So it's a very candid book, but it's written with so much humor. And we talked a lot about the podcast and how incredibly popular it's become. Barack Obama has been on that. Kamala Harris has been on that. Tons of actors have been on there. I was like, wow, these ladies are really blowing up. So I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Angie Pumps Sullivan as much as I enjoyed interviewing her. Well, hello there. Welcome to the Terry Cole Show. I'm so excited to welcome my pal Angie Sullivan to the show. Angie, how you doing? Come on in.
I'm great. Thanks for having me so much. You've been a guest on ours a couple times, so it's exciting to be on yours.
I love it. I was laughing. I was literally thinking about the last time I was on the show, and you guys asked, like, an unpopular, something that you've had it with. And I said, I've had it with that TV show that everyone was watching. And people got so, what was it called? Ted, whatever. What's it called?
Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso.
People were literally up in arms. It was so funny. The comment section was absolutely hysterical.
Really?
Oh my, it was great though. Like, people were so funny. They were like, oh my, like, some people were like, it's sacrilegious. What is wrong with you? How could you not watch it? And then other people were like, me too. I've never seen it. So anyway, I thought it was really funny that there was a whole array of people's responses to it. Anyway, so let's talk about you. Let's talk about all the things. You guys have this amazing new book out, and it's maybe my favorite title of all the books, which is called Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches.
Yeah, it was our mantra for a long time.
Yeah, it's so good because I hate to say it, but it's just so effing true.
Yeah.
And you guys, for those of you who don't know, I would said it at the top, but Angie is a co-host of the I've Had It podcast, and I know many of you obviously are listening to this pod. It's keeping me sane, has been keeping me sane since it's been out, basically. So what inspired you guys and what inspired you to want to do a book? Let's talk a little bit about the book, and then I want to talk about how you got to the book.
Okay. Well, to be really honest, we never considered writing a book, but our agents were like, you need to write a book. And we were just like, who would read it? But they were also the people that were like, you need to do live shows. And we were like, no one would come, all the things. And so we've done basically everything they told us to do, and they've been right. And, you really don't have a plan for the book. Like, you really don't know what you're going to write. We both knew we have such catastrophically ridiculous life choices and experiences that, in my probably even to late 30s, I thought I was the only one that's life could
Mm.
collapse on that spectacular level.
Right.
And so then we had our editor at HarperCollins, John Glenn. He was great. And then we had a collaborator that helped us like talk about how we wanted to frame it. Her name was Emily, and she was really, really good about focusing us on what you want to write.
Hmm.
And so it kind of became more of a like, I don't want people to think that, we know everything or whatever. But for me, it was because I grew up in such a strict, like, this is good, this is bad, this is,
Mm.
right and wrong. And honest to God, Terry, and it sounds crazy now, but I thought if you went to church and you did everything you were supposed to do, bad things couldn't happen to me. Affairs couldn't happen, addiction couldn't happen. Like I was insulated from all that. And when it happened, like for over a year, the only person that knew my life was blowing up besides me, my husband, and we went through several therapists, um, was Jennifer, because I assumed that everybody else's life was what they put out there to the public, like what I
Mm.
was doing. And so for me, it was just like, I've kind of come full circle. I've grown a lot, and I realize now, like everything that I grew up, like all my coping skills, my mechanisms for how I was supposed to cope, how I was thinking, all of that was so screwed up. And so I just wanted people to know that, like, you're not the only person that's gone through hard times. Like everybody's life is messed up. Like nobody's life is perfect. And also, like, during the time that it was all happening, and when I did start sharing and it became, public knowledge what was going on in my life,
Hmm.
I had so many people that I didn't really know that well, but they knew, like, this woman has got to be shock proof, and it's impossible for her to be judgmental because look at her life. And
Mm.
it brought me people in my life that I would have otherwise never known, and they were going through the same thing or very similar things to what I had gone through, and they needed somebody to talk to, but they held that shame so close
Right.
like I did. And so it made me feel like, oh my gosh, like this is I mean, it's not a good thing. It's a terrible thing. All the things that, I've been through and stuff, but it's made me who I am now. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of grateful for some of them. And Jennifer and I were laughing when we were doing our book launch that during all this screwed up time period, like we remember laughing as much as we do remember being devastated because it was just comical. But I don't think it wouldn't have been like that if we didn't have each other.
Yeah, absolutely. What I love about the book is that it's very personal stories, but you guys both have a very funny lens. So it's you're reading it, you get it, you feel the gravity of the situation, which we're going to get into some of them. But you're also laughing because the way you're presenting it it's absurd, it's ridiculous, it's funny, and how you guys responded to different things. And I think it's incredibly humanizing. And I can see how it makes people feel like they can talk to you, right? They feel like not just that you can't judge, it's just that you've lived life. And so whatever they're going through, they feel like you're not going to judge. Um, Before we get into more of the book, I just want to talk a little bit about you. Like all of us come to whatever it is we do in this life for reasons. So you're a lawyer, you went to law school, you've had this whole life before I've had a podcast, right? You had a whole life, you got 3 kids, married, divorced, spectacularly, as you said. So what is your like backstory if you were to say that you were a Marvel movie character? You know how they all have origin
Right.
stories
My
that make
origin
you go,
story.
oh, okay, like now I get it. So what would your origin story be? What happened in your
I was born to two people that um, are from Oklahoma. My mother grew up super religious. And the way I grew up was like paganism compared to how she grew up. And my dad, I mean, they were Methodist, but they weren't like super rah rah. So he was like, but they divorced when I was two. And they had a very amicable divorce, like sat down and said, what can we do that's best for Angie? How do we do this? So like I always spent Christmas with my mom. I always did Thanksgiving with my dad. My dad's mother was incredibly powerful figure in my life. She was a nurse. She picked cotton for 2 years so she could afford to go to nursing school. She couldn't get pregnant. So it was, I'm sorry, we have a sick Frenchie here. So he's barking.
That's
So
okay.
she was like 30 when she had him, which I mean, that's like she was born in 1919. So you can imagine, like, she was the odd man out. And then my mom and dad got married when my mom was like 19 or 20 and my dad was like 23 or 4. So they were super young, got divorced. Then my mom remarried a man with 2 children
Mm-hmm.
who one of his sons or one of his kids, he had a son and daughter, lived with us. So I grew up with him, but he's 8 years older. So they got
Got it.
divorced when I was 5. And not my mom was religious growing up, but we weren't like as crazy religious as like I would say she is now. But you know, we went to church, we did all that. My stepdad was great. I mean, he was always loved me. Like I never would have known I wasn't a step or whatever.
Right.
Went to high school, upper middle class, had lots of friends, did all the things, went to college. It kind of like what I look back now and realize is this super religious upbringing with a very
Mm-hmm.
strict, like I couldn't stay out past 11:30. I wasn't allowed to drink. I wasn't allowed to have a phone in my room. All the things, like it was monitored and there was a very set, good girls do this,
Mm-hmm.
bad girls do that. So when I got to college, I became a raving lunatic like you do, but I never got caught. My grades were always good. You know, my parents thought I studied all the time, the whole nine, smoking, drinking, the whole nine, having
Right.
sex. So I never had really any ramifications in my life. Like I never really experienced horrible like hurt and hardship until my marriage. So I think looking back is why I was so ill prepared for it because
Yes.
I had no preparation for your life is going to implode on you. And I didn't have any training, like emotional health training, which, you know, I've made all my kids go to therapy, do the whole thing, just because I had so few tools. At the time, I only knew religion, and that was just wholly inept.
Yeah, that did not help. So tell us a little bit about the story that I was just reading in the book was about you and Jennifer sort of becoming detectives about your husband's alleged infidelities.
Well, it's not alleged. Wait, at the time it was alleged, but
It was
it turns out that I married a sex addict, which I didn't even know what that was. Like I didn't know what an alcoholic was. I didn't know people watch porn during the day. Like all of this shocked me because Jennifer said one time, like, probably going to hotels and watching porn. I'm like, during the day? I mean, I was so naive to all of this. So his addiction started with sex workers. And I think really like the procuring it, the thinking about it, the doing all that was every bit as much the turn on as the actual sex. And then he just had to
yeah.
ratchet up. So I found that out I was 38, so that would have made him 42, and he'd been doing it for like 17 years, like since his puberty. So I mean, talk about somebody that was not prepared at all for any of that. So that was the spectacular crash of my life. And one thing I just distinctly remember about going to like the family week at sex camp was I was like grieving a life. Like I was devastated that I'd lost a life that I realized I never had. Like I
Mm.
never had what I thought I had. And it was like, why am I so attached to it? It was just bizarro.
Yeah, but it's so not though, Ange. Can I just say that what I say to therapy clients is that so much of the time I have an exercise that I make people do called mourning the dream. Because so much of the time that's what we're doing. You are mourning what you hoped it would be
Right.
with him, that you could create, that you could experience, that you'd create for your children, all of that. That is really the thing that we're mourning. And what happens is when something comes to a spectacular closed, where like that stupid book that your bad therapist gave you was not going to help you
Right.
guys. It was like what to do after the affair. You're like, yeah, we're so past that, buddy.
Right.
Um, but it's like it's the mourning process of having to mourn what you wished it had been. And that really is in order with basically anything that doesn't work out, because it's usually not the thing that we're mourning. It's what we wished it was going to be.
Right. What we thought it was, the expectation of what it was. So yeah, I think that would have helped me a lot in during those times, because it was so divorced. Like I couldn't figure out why I was so, like, you never had that. You never had a faithful, loving husband. Like you never had that. And also
Right.
I look back and I think, if I wasn't completely emotionally unavailable, I would have never married him. You know what I mean? Like, so that's a stark realization too. It's like you're in this because your dysfunctions fit so well.
Yeah. I mean, it is for sure the mirroring of the wounds. Harville Hendrix and his wife, they created imago therapy, and they talk about how we hope we attract someone who kind of provokes our childhood wounds with so that we can heal them. But so much of the time, we just repeat them. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
less about healing and more about, wow, we're just doing the same shit that they did. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember the first time a therapist said to me, "It's comfortable for you." Like, and I was like, "What do you mean?" Because you idealize that we have this close marriage and we're partners, and it's like, I never wanted that. I never had that. I never wanted it. Like I never once considered, whether to go on a vacation with my girlfriends was an issue. Like it never occurred to me like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" It was like, "I'm doing this." Same with like a family vacation. We're going on vacation, and I just realized, as bad as the whole situation was, like I was not a great partner. Like even if he were perfect, I
Right.
was a bad partner.
Right. But it's the massive learning process, right? This is just life school, like, and we're all doing it. But how beautiful that you get to provide for your kids something different than what you experienced. And really, that's all we can ever do is just pray. Could we just do it less bad than our
Right?
parents did it? Like
Just a little
just,
bit less. Just
just
a tiny bit less. Let
a
me ask you
tiny
a
bit
question
less.
though, because you're a good person to ask this. So I didn't, like my kids never, I have never taken a man around my kids, not one time. And they never spent the night with him. Like they were at my house 24/7. Like they went to dinner with him and he would go to games or whatever. But I never modeled any type of a normal relationship. And now as they
Mm.
get older, I'm thinking that was really bad, that they don't have any baseline for what a partnership looks like.
Right. But you're not the only modeled behavior in their life.
Now that's true.
So part of it is if there's a hole, meaning there isn't modeled behavior, like you're saying, that you specifically didn't want to do that, but there's other people. So are there other people that they can look to for partnership? And part of it is having the conversations now, even though your kids are grown, right? How old is your youngest now?
He will be 20 in August. So he just finished his first year of college.
Right. So he's a babe still. I mean, this is still young. And I feel like there is so much opportunity, even with more adult-ish kids, because that's still, in my estimation, your son is still a young adult. I'm going to say mid-20s, maybe. Do I even think that my kids were adult, adulting,
Yeah.
and they were adulting, but they were not emotionally adults. But you can have conversations, where it's like, oh, I wonder, like, what are your thoughts about? You could just ask,
Right.
what are his thoughts about partnership? And you can say, I actually specifically, worked to not really date or bring other people in, and I kept you guys close, and I just hope I didn't do you a disservice. Like,
Yeah, we have talked because I've wondered, and I've noticed they gravitate, like their friends and people they've had relationships with are super strong, like what I would classify as like strong marriage couples, like families.
amazing. So this is just like how if you grew up, my husband grew up with like a father wound. And so he found all of these amazing replacement fathers and his teachers at Parsons and his this person, you know what I mean? Like you can just look for what you didn't have naturally. And it's so great if they found it somewhere else. You're like, right on, let's go. As long as you get it somewhere.
Okay. Okay. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's super helpful. I want to talk a little bit about your own in the book, and I really appreciated this because I think that it's a really good distinction about Karens. So, so you are defending in one of your chapters. You're defending. Now it says all of the Karens out there in the world, which is not exactly true. And so let's talk about your take on Karens. And sometimes somebody got to be a Karen, but not the way that the internet says it now.
Right. Right. And see, Jennifer told me there's a racist connotation to Karen, which I didn't realize when I was like referring to myself as a Karen. So I'm not that kind of Karen. But I do like, because I was a server and all through college, there's certain expectations that I'll meet, like, okay, we still don't have our water or something. And I will bring it up like super
Mhm.
nice. I'm a really good tipper. I always like if the food's super slow, I understand that. And I always tell the server, like, I know it's not you. I know you have no control over this, but I need you to go back and check it out, see what's going on. So I'm just kind of on top. Here's my thing. I have a real problem with inefficiency.
You're a
Like
high
if I
functioning codependent, my friend.
Oh, I don't know how high functioning I am.
You
I mean, I'm
are.
better than I used to be, but so I just have a real problem with efficiency. I'm like, okay, we can do this, da 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 da. So I'm not afraid to kind of, cut the line and say, like, why is this taking so long? Or why do we continue to talk to each other when there's a line full of 10 people? Like, let's move it along. But I try to be very gracious about it. I say, I'm not rude, I'm firm. I'm just like, this seems like it's not working, and that kind of thing. And I just had to get a new gate, and I was trying to send my gate to my house. The guy's like, told my son, well, you can't pick up the gate monitor. The homeowner has to. I called him and I was like, I'm not picking up the gate monitor. I have a job. Like, this is ridiculous. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. So I'm about to get in his ass with some Karen today.
But I think I like the distinction of it doesn't make you a horrible person to expect decent service. You can complain nicely. You can ask for something to be changed nicely, right? You can send back the steak, as you were saying in the book. When the steak needs to be sent back, you were like all the
Yeah,
way
I'm not
back to the
scared.
cow.
Yeah, I'm not scared to
Sometimes.
do that. And it's funny. I find it interesting. Like, so many people get so nervous when that happens.
Hmm.
Like, if I'm at a table with a big group and I would like, oh, these aren't done well enough or whatever, it makes people nervous, which I didn't realize.
Well, because most people don't do it, but I think that there is something about not doing it too. Like if you are perpetually not doing it, what are you saying about your own experience? What are you saying about your own expectation? Like, and not to mention, I feel like if you are a lawyer and somebody hires you, if you are still in business, you would expect to give them excellent service, right? You would expect to give them better than average service. I feel that way about what I do. Like my standards are high. And I say about high functioning codependency just because this a lot of times is part of what we experience and why we do so much on our own and have all this hyper independence. Because
Right.
if other people don't have high standards, then we don't want to give them things to do because they're going to do it shittily. And then we would just rather do it ourselves than have it be done bad. Or they're going to wait 3 weeks to do it and we can't stand that. So
You are describing me as a mother. Like, that is my Achilles heel. I'm like, I'll just do it myself. It's just easier if I do it myself. And I
mhm.
tried to wait my kids out the other day. I'm like, there is, because they haven't lived with me for a year. I've had a completely empty nest. And
Mm.
then they come back and it's like there's dishes in the sink. And I'm like, I'm just going to hold out and see how long it takes to put them in the dishwasher. Well, after 3 days, I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to just put it in the dishwasher. Like, they're never going to do it. So no, and I'm so much better than I was when they were younger. So
Mhm.
much better, but I'm still bad. Yeah, my
You can
point
all
is better, Terry.
yes, good, better, best is what we're going for in life because we're all works in progress. But I also think it wouldn't be terrible to put a sticky note near the sink that says, don't even think about leaving dirty dishes here because the fucking dishwasher is right here with an arrow. I mean, that's possible.
That is an option. They are all adults.
Right. You know where to put it.
Right.
It's funny. It's like if you don't do it, like you said, I weighed them out. 3 days is pretty long. So I can understand wanting to do it, but also having the conversation. Like when I had grown kids sort of moving back into the house, we had to have a conversation. Like I needed to manage some expectations about how it was going to be because you're not 17 anymore. Everyone is pulling their own weight. I do not work for you. Do not leave shit all over this house. Do not leave shit all over the main areas that we all share. The bedroom you are in, your bedroom, you can keep it however you want. Just keep the door shut. But I had to do that when they were younger too, because to live with, it was my husband and 3 teenage boys. That's who I inherited. I was like, wow, if I don't have some rules, I'm going to kill all the people in this house, which I decided against doing.
Right. Which has its own set of problems.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about the podcast. You guys have become so popular. I'm so excited and so proud. Every time I see like another sort of celebrity doing something, I'm like, wow, look at these ladies go. So tell me a little bit about how the pod started and about how is it for you to be doing it?
It's great. Okay, so how it started, I think it was like 2016-ish. We were on a Bravo reality show, Jennifer and I another one of our friends. And it wasn't back, I mean, like we sat down and said, we're not fighting, we're not doing any of that. So it was only 2 years, but it had like a real dedicated following. And so our my middle child, Jennifer's oldest, and they've grown up together, we would be on the phone bitching about the same stuff, just on and on. And they said, you guys should start a podcast. And then her son got into the bowels of the internet. And I was like, I think that you could start a podcast. So we're like, okay, we'll give it 3 months and see what happens. And so then it became more popular. I mean, it became popular and then grew and grew and grew. And now we have a spinoff podcast called I Hit News, where we talk about the news in just short bit segments. And we both really enjoy that because we're kind of like news junkies, both of us anyway. It's what we kind of do for fun. So it's been the most surreal experience. In October of 24, I wrapped up my law practice. Jennifer's has a few clients. So it's like my full-time job now. And I really like it. Like we're meeting Barack Obama and we're like, we never in a billion, never once did we think that this was going to happen. It was just everything we do. And it's so funny. We'll like pull into the driveway after we get back from the airport, having done something like super cool. And we're like, this is it. Like, this is the peak, right? Like it's all down here from here. And then something else happened. So it's just been, especially at my age, like I was 53 when we started. I'm 55 now. And she just turned 50. She'll be 51. I want everyone to know that in 2 months. And it's like we are in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, the most, Bible Belt, MAGA red, middle-aged women. Like it is so bizarre that this happened. But, I think what sets us kind of apart is we do have such a good chemistry because we've known each other for so long. And like you said, we've dealt with everything with humor. So even with the news is just horrible, we kind of giggle about it. We're like, WTF, like, how is this happening? There's some charming humor to it that our children do not see, but that fortunately other people do see.
What I love is that it's resonating, right? So when I first saw the show, it just made me laugh because I was like, oh, so freely talking about the things we've had it with. Like, and I mean, Jennifer is just a beast. She just does literally not care what.
She will take down anybody.
Anybody does not care. But there's something you can see that it is something that resonates because you guys do it with humor, and there's something very it's releasing. Like there's like a liberation when you watch your show. I always feel like I feel like I got something off my chest, even though I was just watching it. So for those of you, if you are new to this show, it's called I've Had It. You would, and the So I Hit News, is that what it's called?
Yes,
The other
I Hit
one?
News. We also have, but I've had it. We do 2 times a week, and it's like grievances that we have. And it's funny. I think it's right. Like people love to bond and bitch about the same thing, and I think that's probably why it hit people too. It's like, yeah, everybody hates the person that's not prepared in the TSA line.
Everyone hates the person who is traveling for the first time in their
Right.
entire life today because they've got
Today.
4 gallons of water in their
Right.
backpack.
And it's like there's somebody screaming for 5 loops of a line, take the water out of it. It's just like it's not an epiphany. But yeah,
Right.
so it's things like that. It's really, really fun. We've had some really fun guests.
Who's your favorite guy?
Like on I've Had It,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
you could
have
say top 3.
okay, top 3, Kamala Harris.
Yep.
She's fabulous. She's
Yep.
funny and she's very thoughtful. So loved having her. Obviously Barack Obama, that's a layup.
I mean, hello.
But here's one that just really surprised me. Jerry O'Connell. He's an actor
I know who
and
he is.
he is incredible. Like I loved being with him. Don Lemon's great too. I don't know that Don's been yeah, I guess he's been a guest. I can't remember. I love him, but we've kind of gotten to know him past just the podcast experience.
Right, because he
And
was hosting your New York show.
yes, he was our moderator. And yeah, we've done it in New York. That's why I couldn't place it. But yes, he's been a guest. So I love him. We just have had a lot of really, really cool experiences with people. And it's funny because you have these images of how people are supposed to be in your mind. And sometimes they over deliver, and then sometimes they're completely different than you thought, but you really like, it's just interesting meeting all these people.
And what a fantastic opportunity that you guys basically created. So, you guys, I want to ask you one last question, but I want to make sure everyone listening knows you can get this book in all the places. It's called Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches.
Yeah.
Just visualize that. Jennifer Welsh and Angie Sullivan, who is here with us today. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's what the beautiful cover looks like. There's a shit sandwich for you right there at the top. And I'm going to ask you one question that I ask most of my guests, which is, personally, what has been your most challenging boundary struggle and how have you overcome it if you have?
Absolutely with my mother. Setting boundaries with my mother, that would be number one. And I haven't gotten there yet, but it has gotten better. And it's because obviously I've been through a ton of therapy and releasing the codependency with her, like if she gets upset about something I did, like I'm unable to understand. And this is recent, like last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is not about me. Like how she reacts to how I feel or what I say is not about me. And that has been a hard fought lesson, but I have not overcome it completely yet, but I'm a lot better about it.
Amazing. And I have to say, that's probably one of the top things that people say on this podcast when
Is
I ask
it?
them that. It's especially women, and especially women who are raised to be good girls.
Yes.
Right?
That's so
We're
true.
a particular style of, women where you have it ingrained that, who do you not want to disappoint is your mother. And
Right.
yet there comes a point in life when we have to choose our mental health and create boundaries. And you know what? As Cheryl Richardson wrote a book called Let Me Disappoint You. And this is part of the process of being in recovery from these things that we're talking about, is being able to realize you can disappoint your mother and still love her.
Right. And she'll still love you.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So where can people find you and all the things?
Okay, we have an Instagram and a Blue Sky, and I don't know if we still have a Facebook. I'm terrible at social media,
Don't
but
worry.
Instagram is I've Had It podcast. I am at Pumps Pumps Pumps. YouTube, all the platforms for audio listening. The book you can get through Audible, and you can get it at any bookstore or
Amazing.
online or whatever.
And we'll put all the links, you guys. Don't worry. All the links will be in the show notes. But Pumps, thank you so much for being here. I super appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much, Terry. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you will.
Bye-bye.